Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 442. We've got a great guest with us. We've got Vito Peleg with us from WP Feedback, and also got my great host, Adrian. And he's recovered from a bit of a bad cold, but he seems a little bit more sprightly than last week when he was actually going down with it. So, Vito, can you give us a quick, at the max, 30-second intro about yourself and about WP Feedback?
Sure. So first of all, I'm happy to be back on the show with you, Jonathan, and it's a pleasure to meeting you, Adrian. I heard great things about your product. So I actually started building websites from the back of a van when I was touring the world with a band that I used to have at the time. Was doing pretty well, but we were still broke. So that was my way of generating some extra income. And then once the band split up, I started developing my freelancing business into an agency here in London. And through our struggles and through our experiences within the agency, we came up with a solution for a problem that we had, which is talking to clients that were just annoying us with back and forth and long emails and spreadsheets and all of this kind of stuff. So that's why we created WP Feedback, and it worked so nicely for us. So we decided to launch this for the entire community with the mission of fixing communications for WordPress professionals.
Oh, that's a great introduction. And we're going to be discussing how to launch a product or course in 2009 or 2018, 2019. I thought Vito was the guy to have on because he's not enormous personality with an enormous email list, but he did a very successful job. So he's not one of these big star types that it's,
Yet.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to be. But I thought his experience had real application to our audience. And I also got my great co-host, Adrian. Adrian, would you like to introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian. For those of you who do not know me, I am the founder and CEO of Groundhog, marketing automation and sales plugin company for businesses that use WordPress.
And before we go into the interview, I want to quickly mention our major sponsor, which is Kingster Hosting. Kingster only specialise in hosting WordPress, and they specialise in WooCommerce, e-learning, membership websites where you need something where you're looking at real performance. Recently, they've just upgraded their whole system, which is based on the Google platform, and they've got almost 200% increases in speed, and they were one of the best speed hosting companies on the market at the present moment before these improvements. Now they've got a sizable lead on most of the hosting that is sold to you. Now, if that sounds interesting to yourself or maybe for your clients, go over to kingster.com, see what they've got to offer. I've been hosting the WP-Tonic website with them for almost 2 years. It's been superb. The interface, the customized interface is really simple to use. The support is great. And I've got to be honest, I couldn't really go back to your bog standard hosting provider I've just got used to the great environment that Kingster provides. So if that sounds interesting, go over to their website and also tell them that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic website. So,
Well, I can second that. First of all, I've been using Kingster for 2 years, not only for our websites, but for our customers as well through the agency. And yeah, it's just a completely different.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? And you couldn't go back. You couldn't go back to something substandard. Well, you just couldn't you? When you get used to that, it's hard to go back to something a little bit inferior, isn't it?
Yeah, it just puts a whole new level into this hosting game.
And they still care about customer support, don't they? They haven't got,
yes.
Which some hosting providers.
We're going to have to charge Kingster extra for this episode.
Yeah, well, they pay me. The support you did show really well, Adrian, and they've been a great sponsor. So that's why I do such a good job for them, hopefully. So you decided, about WP Feedback. You went through all the pain of actually building a great product, which is a nightmare in itself. But then you've got to market it. You actually got to get sales. You've got to tell people about it. So how did you approach the initial discussion about the channels, the strategy around how you're going to market this great product?
So luckily, we had a lot of experience doing this for our customers through the agency, because we did a bunch of marketing campaigns over the past few years for customers that had no understanding of the online world or never stepped foot into digital marketing before. So we did launches, basically. So that gave me a lot of experience doing that. More than that, through the music world, through the music industry, it's essentially that, you release an album, you do a product launch, which is something that you do every year. You set up a tour, then you do like essentially a product launch to launch this tour, get people to buy tickets from different areas around the world. So that gave me a lot of experience into how to build that community around this, how to leverage online funnels to create a successful launch. And we actually made history with our launch in the WordPress ecosystem, being the first plugin by a new company to reach 6 figures within 30 days. So it was super, super successful with this thing, and it's just been going. And that initial traction created a ripple effect that we're still experiencing to this day in terms of acquisition, in terms of new customers that are coming on board, and opportunities that are coming our way. So definitely creating a proper strategy for product launch is something that is not only needed, but it's essential for for creating a business early on.
Right.
And when you talk,
so can I just interrupt before I throw it over to Adrian? Can we get into the nitty gritty now?
Yes.
So did you draw up you probably had a number of meetings, but did you write up a actual marketing document, a marketing campaign document, and first of all, did you do that? And secondly, what were the main channels, the main elements in that document, briefly?
Right. So we can check, there's 4 things that you need to consider, which is audience, message, channel, and system. This is the framework for everything that we're doing here at WP Feedback. And it's just a great way of achieving goals as a whole. Just remember this audience, message, channel system. So in terms of the audience, we knew that we are the audience because we were an agency, and we just wanted to find more people like ourselves that want to grow their business, but can't take it anymore, talking to clients through all channels. That was our audience. In terms of messaging, I wasn't really sure what will resonate. So we did a lot of experimenting through organic methods before we spent any money or before we even launched the product. We surveyed 587 to be exact, WordPress professionals within the community to see how they run their business. So we asked them about the pain points that we're basically trying to solve here. We asked them, how are you providing support to people? How are you gathering content? How are you proving designs? All of these kind of stuff, all with open questions so they can use their own words. And that gave us a lot of clarity as to, first of all, verifying that this problem that we're tackling is not only a problem of mine, but it's a grander issue, but also seeing the terms that they're using. They're pissed off by this. They can't stand it anymore. It was really painful to read these replies, and and it all resonated with me personally as well. So we knew initially that the messaging should be a straightforward approach and just not try and sugarcoat this problem that is happening within the community and just bang at it straight away. Aren't you just tired of chasing clients for feedback? That was one of our taglines, So that finding that messaging was really important, and it doesn't happen from day one. It's something that you need to test a few of them to see what works, what doesn't work, track everything. Then the third thing is the channel. Where are you going to find this audience to present this message in front of? So we experimented with a few of them organically at first, without spending any money on ads or anything like that. We went to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Try to identify the audiences within there and to see what is the conversion rate from these different channels just to our beta sequence. So it wasn't even sales yet. It was just seeing if people are interested. And from Facebook, and so to be interested, they just needed to give us their email to be notified when the product is ready. From Facebook, we had 52% sign-up rate, which was just mind-blowing to me. And you know, on LinkedIn, it was a little more than 25%. Instagram was like 8%. And so we already knew that Facebook would be the biggest channel that we need to focus. It was by far the most converting one in terms of sign-ups.
What about Twitter?
Twitter wasn't really good either. It was pretty much the same as LinkedIn. So right now our focus is on Facebook in terms of.
Was you surprised? Was you surprised at that figure? And Facebook?
I was. I thought that LinkedIn would be the best, to be honest, because that's where people come to work. Let's say. Then the second one I thought would be Twitter, because the WordPress community is very active on Twitter. But Facebook just blew them all out of the water, you know.
It's all the Facebook groups.
Yeah, the Facebook groups they're an amazing resource for us. But the point here is that what worked for us might not work for other people. Yeah. We went out and we tested those 4 different channels after we found where we can find the audience inside there to just see conversion rate. It wasn't about the volume, it was about the percentages.
Oh, and I think you've just done a fantastic job. I'm just going to throw it over to Adrian.
Sure.
So I'm super interested to hear about the translation from your music career, which we haven't heard a whole lot about yet. Going and transferring essentially your product launch sequence is what we're talking about right now.
Yes.
I'm super interested to hear like the short and dirty version of your music career product launch and how easy it was or what remained the same when translating that to your WordPress product launch sequence.
Well, first of all, it's exactly the same. It's uncanny. It's unbelievable that how similar both processes were. A lot more than selling websites, you know, or selling marketing services through the agency or as a freelancer. It just brought me all back. A lot of the things that we did was, first of all, we started with creating the attractive character as Russell Brunson defines it. Do you know?
I'm fairly familiar. I'm not sure if Jonathan's familiar.
Yeah, I know Russell. Not personally, but yeah.
So there's a really interesting book that he wrote called .com Secrets, which is a must for everyone that wants to do these kind of things. And he put a huge emphasis on the attractive character, which is defining the person that is actually driving this forward, especially for a new product and for a band. Bands, it's like, you know, that's why single artists, like solo artists, work a lot better than bands because they have this face recognition straight out of the gate. So with products, it's the same thing. You want to create trust. Because people don't know you, you know, they don't know about what you're doing. They never heard about your achievements or your abilities before that. So we just splashed my face on everything just to make sure that I put my name on it and I put my own reputation on the product. I was confident enough to do this because I knew that we have something pretty good to offer. So attractive character, that was a huge thing. Another thing that we did was creating a community right from the beginning, exactly like musicians do. You know, musicians, even before they have a song, they have a Facebook page, right? So that was the approach as well. We created a group. We brought everyone on board into the group.
So where did you? Yeah. I'm just going to interject really quickly. Where did the people come from to get into that group? A lot of people attempt and fail, unfortunately, to build those communities that exactly what you're speaking of, because it's really great because, you know, before you build anything, you want to be able to have a list or an audience of people who actually go and sell that thing to. So where did those people come from?
So we did a sequence, that was the onboarding sequence initially. So the idea was to reach out to the public before we had anything. We just had a scrappy version that we were using at the office, but it was not ready to go to market. So what we did is we just created a landing page with a sign-up form, get notified when we're ready. And give me your name and your email. Now, the thing about this thing, and that's what usually people stop there. But we created 2 additional steps that really helped build this community further. So once they signed up and they gave us their email, that's when they were redirected to this survey where we asked these 10 questions that I talked about. And right after the survey, it redirected them to a page with a short video of myself thanking them in person, telling them how awesome it is that they trusted us so early on. I talked about my commitment to the WordPress community and how I for years loved sharing my knowledge inside these groups. And I asked them personally, I told them, now it's your time to help me. By clicking one of these share buttons that you will see right below the video right there. So that created that ripple effect that from just posting about a dozen Facebook posts on different channels, on LinkedIn groups and on Facebook groups, of course, with approvals from the admins, we generated 1,300 subscribers to this list within the first month.
Wow.
And this list was the list that actually drove the initial sales, allowed us to get some revenue in so that I could invest into paid ads and scale this thing further.
So after community, the next step is what?
So the community, there is no next step. Community is forever. Yeah, building the community is always it's always important. But once we had that, we started with the beta. We ran the beta for about a month, and we asked the beta users to give us reviews, to give us the social proof that you need to launch something online. Right. And this is very, very common for courses. This is a strategy that I actually took from online courses, where you first approach your audience. You give this to them at like 90% discount, if not completely for free. It is good for them to pay something because then the level of commitment rises. I achieved the level of commitment and the level of investment through the other ways, through asking them to fill out the survey, which essentially they poked their own pain points by telling me what their problems were through this thing. So it really elevated the pain and the anticipation for the product. And then by sharing this, they already expressed their commitment to the product publicly online. So I didn't feel necessary. It didn't feel necessary to actually charge them for the beta, but we opened it only for 100 people at first out of the 1,300, the first 100 that actually got into the Facebook group. Not the first people that signed up, but the first people that went through the entire process and landed within this closed Facebook group.
Oh, that's great. We're going to go for our break. Actually, I think Vito has already provided enormous insight and value already. I'm looking forward to the second part of this great interview. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. I've had to interrupt Vito a couple of times because he's very passionate about this, but he's also offered in. I've been blown away with the amount of information we've given you for free, listeners and viewers. So I think just to recap, the main points I got from the first half of our interview is that, you know, you were solving your own pain point in your own agency. You got something knocked up that you could work internally. Then you confirmed through organic, through landing pages and verbiage, you got a group of people to sign up for your pre-product launch. You gave them a survey. All that confirmed that there was a need, a demand for your product. You also, through the survey, you got the language that your target audience would probably respond to. So you got all that, and then you got, you know, you offered a reasonably high discount to get those first batch of people to sign up for the actual real product. So after all those stages, was it, when it came after the beta, after the testing, after the confirmation with your first group, was it then time to actually spend money on paid advertising? When did that kick in? Or did it kick into this process? And if it did, when did it kick in?
It did kick in with a lot bigger budget that I first anticipated because it was working. So we just kept pushing more money into it. When it kicked in was that after we already had revenue. So I believe, and I think this is something that I took from the music world, that in the tech world, we call it bootstrapping. In the music world, it's just being broke, right? So like, that's the
Starving artist.
Yeah, exactly. So with the starving artist mentality, you just do things out of nothing. You just create things out of nothing because you don't have a better way of doing it. So I took that kind of like a point with me to everything else that I did since then, just trying to get to a point where a product or a business or a service stands on its own before it's being fed money into. So the budget for WP Feedback was zero. Literally, we launched it with $0 invested into this thing, only sweat, and sweat and tears. At
Blood,
some
sweat, and
point
tears is the
yeah.
expression.
But once we started getting some revenue in, we started doing online campaigns. The first start was remarketing, trying to pick up these low-hanging fruits, people that already visited the website, showed interest, but didn't convert. And people just need reminders in most cases.
So
and that's the point.
So that was mostly through, because obviously in the first half, we discussed that Facebook, because of your pre-launch activities, you found out that Facebook was probably the main platform that you're going to spend money on.
Yes.
So you did retarget. What was the kind of, I don't know if you got the actual figures, what was the kind of response you got from retargeting then?
Right. So we started with the launch by doing like a deep discount, but on bigger packages than what we offer now. So we offered an unlimited, we offer a lifetime deal just to get the ball rolling, which I think is a great strategy at the beginning, but you got to move out of this at some point. This allowed us to have a really high value per customer. So the acquisition cost could have been pretty high. Through remarketing, we saw that we're acquiring users at about $32. That was the average for the launch, for the founding members deal. And through cold traffic, it was close to $100 to acquire a new customer. Yeah, that's what you meant, Jonathan? Just these figures?
No, yeah, I think that was fantastic information on its own front, and thanks for sharing that. But I meant, in percent, when you retargeted them again, for how many of them actually signed up for the product?
I didn't really look at the numbers of the people that we reached, but because that didn't. What mattered to me is the sale, So yeah. That's the KPI that I was looking at. If we're selling for $30 something, and we know that our average sale was at $390,
you got a bit of a problem, haven't you?
No, it was awesome. You can scale this up as much as you can, because we were basically doing 10x on your money. So I mean, the customers spent about $390.
No, I mean if it was the other way.
Oh, yeah.
Which a lot is the road to poverty again. I'm going to throw it over to Adrian.
I'm actually curious about because everybody comes on like, all right, so we had this Facebook campaign and it converted at 50%, or we had, we did retargeting and that worked really, really well. And then people listen and then they're like, great, I'll whip up a Facebook campaign and retargeting. And then they spend a bunch of money and then none of it works.
None of it works.
So, and the reason is because, that's like the context of it, but people are missing what actually, what content was in the ad, where did it go? What did it say? What pain points did it outline? So what content was actually in that initial Facebook campaign, and as well as the retargeting that I think is really interesting. What did you actually say that like, hey, listen, I'm going to click this ad and I'm going to go buy something?
Right. So you hit the nail right on the head, because when people create Facebook ads, they usually just write something up. They write
myself included.
Yeah, well, myself included. Before I researched the subject and before I had the experience with it, so you say so most people do like 1 to 3 maximum. They write like 3 ads, and that's what they run. We were running 600. So the point of running 600 ads at the same time, each one of them for a low budget, is to see what works, because you never know. And by creating variations within the Facebook algorithm, that's when you can just find the winners and kill the others. And that's basically what we did. The ones that actually I thought that so now 600 sounds a lot, but it's all about variation. So we didn't really write 600 different ads.
So we're talking about real micro, like color, button color. Are we talking about real micro differences, like actually the wording on the button at that type? Is that?
So not even that. We still haven't gotten to this level of A/B testing. We're doing A/B testing all the time, but getting to this kind of small details, we're still looking at things on a higher level. The point was to create different angles that tackle the same problem. So, for example, and when I say 600, this basically means that we had 5 variations of text, 5 variations of titles, 5 variations of descriptions, and 5 variations of creatives all together, run together with mixed all up. That gives you the 600, because sometimes this block of text with that particular image and this particular title, that's the combination that actually moves the needle.
So really, it's like you had 5 different variations of each portion of the ad. You do the multiplication, you get 600.
That's the game.
Okay, so that is a very effective way to quickly create 600 ads.
Yes, that's how to me, that's the ideal way of testing. So you set up like a proper testing budget of about $2,000 to actually get some traffic into these ads. And boom, within a week, you know what works, what doesn't. And then you can scale what does.
What did work for you specifically?
Right. So we tried all kinds. I was thinking that the personal approach would work a lot better through these ads. So we had like one variation, which was a huge long copy that just told my story and how I grew from a freelancer to agency, and how I kind of like I discovered this problem and I wanted to fix it. And it seems like this would be a natural winner, right? But it's essentially what really worked for us is actually none of this. It was the snappy SaaS style ads, like you see from a Monday or from
Elemento.
From Elemento. Elemento has been a great inspiration for my business as a whole. I'm looking very closely at what these guys are doing. So this kind of stuff actually worked better for us.
I actually thought their pop-up for their pop-up build, their initial adverts, their video and that was some of the best I've seen. Actually, cost a fortune to make, I'd imagine, but they were really spot on, weren't they?
Yes. So that was a bit of a challenge, because you're trying to compete with these companies that have, well, we're not competing with Elemento specifically, but they set up some kind of a standard, right?
Yeah.
So we tried to tackle this from our point of view, because we couldn't afford going out and doing these kind of videos and stuff like that. But what I like to think about, and it's something that I always told my clients as well, don't position yourself as more than you are, so because it's really easy to see through that. So if you're just starting off, fine, take your iPhone, take a picture of yourself doing something. We had one picture that worked pretty well of me holding a lighter against the screen, trying to burn the screen, from frustration. And it's just a picture that one of my guys came here, stood there and took a picture of me, tried to set this screen on fire. And it was just like the whole point was just to stop the scroll. You don't need too much flashy things. Now that we have a little more budget, we just brought in like a video guy that spent a week here and helped us create some other creatives. But again, you don't know if it's going to work until you test.
Well, I've been blown away with this interview. You're going to have to come back. We're going to wrap it up for the podcast part of the show, folks. But Vito's agreed to stay on. And what we're going to be talking about in the bonus content, which you can watch on the WP-Tonic YouTube channel or on the episode on the WP website with full transcription of the show notes, is they're going to be talking about his experience from moving from a freelancer into a agency owner. And he also joined the WP Elevation course, which is run by Troy Dean, who's very well known in the WordPress community. We're going to be talking about his experiences from moving from freelancer. So, Vito, how can people find out more about you and what you are up to?
So wpfeedback.co, that's the best place to go, and there's a great blog there. Also, you can reach out to me directly through LinkedIn, just Vito Peleg, or on our Twitter account, which is feedbackwp.
I'm actually going to buy his product. I've been on the fence about it, actually, but I've just recently had we are getting the product for the client, but I've just had a terrible couple of months with a client, which was around communication, and I've decided I'm going to have to do something about it. So I am going to be discussing buying your product.
Awesome.
So
well, I'll tell you what, we kind of accepted the horrible situation that is happening around communications. We accept this as a given, that it's just a pain, a part of the pain of running a service-based business. But it shouldn't be like that. And you will see, Jonathan, once you get the product, it's just gone. You know, all of these years of frustration, it's just gonna be like
he's done a great sale job. Adrian, how can people get hold of you and learn more about Groundhog?
So if you're looking to scale up your business and simplify, consolidate, and automate all of your sales and marketing in one area, then you can go to groundhog.io to find out about how you can implement marketing automation, email marketing, sales pipeline, and all of that good stuff right within your WordPress website. Again, that's groundhog.io, and you can actually get started for absolutely free.
And I've got a favour to ask our beloved listeners and viewers. The podcast has been growing since Adrian has joined. We're getting more listeners and viewers. He's the good-looking one. I presume that's why you're joined us. But every time we get close to being in the top 12 in iTunes, they slam me because I get a lot more listeners and they think it's some kind of automated bolt that's getting the listeners rather than real people. To stop that from happening, can you give us a review on iTunes? It really does help the show, and it confirms that our new listeners and viewers are not Russian bolts, which I'm sure they're not. So if you could do that, that would be great. We're going to be coming back next week with another fantastic guest like Vito. I've been blown away with our interview, and we'll see you soon, folks. Bye. Right, on to the bonus content. So I just want to give you a bit of background. I was a kind of freelance job.
This is a little more chilled now, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more chilled.
Okay,
it's after hours.
Yeah.
You can get the whiskey out there, all right? Because I think it's about 5:30. Is it around 5:30?
It is.
It's whiskey time in England.
It's 4 o'clock.
If I get my whiskey out now, mate, but I've got a problem. I'll just give you a bit of background. I was kind of jobbing, kind of freelancer, did some development work for some local agencies, hated it because, you know, the reason I want to be a freelancer is to be my own boss. And I ended up even in a worse situation being a freelancer for a typical marketing agency. And then I was jobbing around trying to get clients as well. So it's feast or famine all the time. And then, but I was doing reasonable. And then I decided I'm going to start my own agency. And I actually took a substantial cut in salary and money because of that decision, because you're handing out work to other people, basically, rather than trying to do it all yourself. Now, I understand that you were a freelancer when you were in your band. Why did you feel that you had to take this course, that WP Elevation and Troy Dean runs? What was the motivation for you wanting to join that?
Right. So, in courses in general, I believe is the best investment that you can do in your own life. Just learn all the time, all the time. I'm always going through at least 2 courses. I have two really interesting ones that I'm going through right now, and you know, books and the Audible and all of these kind of stuff. Like I really believe in personal growth, and I think that these kind of stuff allows you to create the mindset for achieving what you set yourself to achieve. More than actually learning the processes, it's more about learning the how to think like that. And the Troy's course definitely helped me in this direction, because I was, as you're saying, you when you start this off, you just want to design. You don't want to do all of the other crap around this, you know.
You just want people to log in and buy the bloody thing and no support.
That's it. Yeah. Just come in. I'll do a beautiful website and then leave me alone. Right. But it doesn't really work like that. You're serving people, and there's a lot of stuff that comes around with that. So I didn't know much about these aspects of the business at that stage. And you know, when the client came on board, I was like, all right, I'll just build a website. So I installed WordPress and I started working without really a real structured system in place. But as you go through that time of feast and famine, like you mentioned, Jonathan, that usually happens in the beginning to every single person that goes into this game. At some point, you have enough. You have a nice but solid customer base that keeps feeding you with projects, so that you do have ongoing work. Then the problem starts: how do I manage all of these things? How do I juggle between the projects?
I just wanted to, because obviously, was this in London when you went on this journey?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, and also it really depends, you know, when you're in a major metropolitan city, obviously you're going to have a lot of competition, but also you have a lot of clients out there as well. See, I'm in a population of 500,000. It's a very tight relationship based, and I was doing a lot of work that wasn't subcontracting for very kind of micro clients, and you find that they don't have a lot of repeat business. So you're always looking for new, you know, the type of people now go and use something like Wix. But we're talking about 4 or 5 years ago where they were prepared to spend like $2,000 or $3,000, but that was a lot of money. So you're always trying to knock the sites out, and you know the setup that I'm describing to you. So
I know exactly what you mean.
So, but I think, and I think a lot of WordPress people are in that kind of hamster wheel, as I call it. How was you there initially, and how did you break out so you got some better clients where you got repeat business?
So the game to start bringing in repeat business was to reach out to them. And this is something that most people don't do at this stage.
No,
because
I was terrible.
Yeah, because your game is around design. That's what you want to do. You don't want to reach out and send them a Happy New Year and talk to them about I don't know if you heard, but Google have changed this thing, so let's do something. But there's loads of opportunities for upsells at any given moment for every professional that is out there. More than that, reaching out to them and letting them know, once I saw that I don't have a project for next month, or I want another project for next month because I want to buy something nice. So I reached out to customers and asked them to recommend. And after you do that a few times, you just become the guy, you know, and that's where you want to be. You want to be the person that your customers think of as soon as someone in their close proximity thinks about a website. So you start getting tagged on Facebook, you know, with like, oh yeah, I know Vito is the guy who's going to sort you out, you know, and you start getting like introduction emails and stuff like that. It grew organically. I didn't spend any money on marketing or anything like that at the beginning. It was just a matter of building this relationship to just slightly deeper level than anyone else, but just slightly. I wasn't amazing at it either. I just did what I needed because I wanted more, I guess. So I reached out to the people that helped me before, which are the customers I already had. Now, it's true that most customers won't have thousands of dollars to spend again and again, but they do have a month, to spend on a care plan. Or they do have an extra 300, 400 that you can allocate to Google ads thing, or building like a newsletter, not newsletter, but like an email marketing funnel that will be there on the website. So there's all kinds of stuff. When that was back in the day when SSL was not common, and it was becoming a thing. So I reached out to all the customers. We need to secure the website now, right? So that's 4 more hours that you need to spend, because you're just going to be ranked down on Google. Then after that, it was GDPR, and then now there was something else that was happening right now that I thought it's one of those things, because once a year there is like a thing, So just being aware of these things can definitely help me grow past.
Well, obviously you had a much better marketing brain than me. Over to Adrian.
Are you still in the agency role at the moment, or are you like fully invested in like WP Feedback, or are you doing both?
So we're still pretty young. 4 months ago, we just started. Like, we literally launched 4 months ago. So, but after the first month and seeing the impact that can be achieved with WP Feedback, I stopped there's no more new projects. We're just building this. But we kept a little more than 30 customers that we had in care plans. First of all, because it's nice recurring revenue that comes into the business. But also, it's a way for me to keep using our own tool, so the team is still experimenting with client communications, and every new feature, we use it first before it's being rolled out. So that's my strategy. But I imagine that in a year from now, we'll be doing just WP Feedback.
So I ask because I'm curious to know, since you obviously have extensive knowledge of being in an agency and a lot of people listening, are agencies, do you have any sort of tips or in terms of keeping the customers? WP Feedback is all about keeping customers happy, right? And they're able to communicate easily and more effectively. If they're currently not using WP Feedback, what is the number one way that they can actually do their best in order to keep customers happy?
So first of all, start using it. But I would say that the game is, there is an interesting term called eating your client's complications. And this basically means that instead of pushing responsibility towards the client, which we all do all the time, way too often than we should, then you want to try and take that responsibility and put it on yourself, even though it's harder to do. It's the right thing to do, because we are service providers before we are web designers. And that change of mindset really shift things for me when I was managing an agency, and you have payroll, 12 guys that you need to pay every single month. It's a lot of money, that you need to cough out every month. So it was essential for me to understand and to train my team on this principle. Eat your client complications. Everything that you can do for them and or take out of their plate, they're going to value you for this. A little note on this topic is that they need to know that what you did is extraordinary, because or else they will take it for granted.
Right.
So,
is it all billable?
Yeah. So yeah, some of the stuff are billable, but as a general note, is just the mindset. I can give you a really good example that we're all doing, in my mind, really wrong in the community. Whenever there is a new project, what is the standard process that is being taught to new WordPress designers is, okay, get them to sign the proposal, give you the deposit, and then wait for content. What a horrible experience for the customer.
That content ain't ever coming.
That content is never coming.
The content, first of all, it's not coming. But why is it not coming? The reason why it's not coming is because a person came to you, paid you 50% of a project that they want done. They don't know much about how it's going to get done, but they want it done, right? They put their money where their mouth is, and then you send them to work. It's illogical in a like infuriating way for me. It's frustrating to just think about this. Imagine that you would go to a shoe store, right, in the mall, and you would find the right shoe, right? You would find the one that you love and that you really want to walk with. You go to the till, you pay for the shoe, and then the guy takes back the box and say, no, you're not getting this until you go to the other side of the mall and buy some socks. Come back with this, and then I'll give you the box. It's like, what the hell, right? So this is basically what we're doing for our customers. Whenever they paid for something, then the first experience that they have from us is being sent out to do work, usually with little to no training on how. Right? I need the content. Go give me the content. What is content? What are you talking about? So we changed that process to, we start with a prototype, and we have everything with lorem ipsums inside the build, so that when a customer needs to give us the content, we use WP feedback. We put those stickers on the lorem ipsums and just tell them, you see the sticker, click on it and drop the relevant content inside. They already see the vision. They already see how the text that needs to be applied can correlate to a design that we had in mind. Sure, it does add a bit more additional to the design part after you get the content from them and so on, but a lot less than the back and forth of when you send the customer a blank Word document and now you tell him, I need text for the homepage. What? You know, in most cases, most homepages look pretty much the same. You have the hero section with the USP, the unique selling proposition, and one sentence, and then you have the call to action. Then you have those three icons, right, with the features, and then you have an about us section. Then you have services. It's always the same. So why would you let the customer discover this on its own, where you can eat this complication for them? That's my point with this.
And I think that pretty much sums it up nicely.
Yeah. Just to wrap out our bonus content. So you went on to the WP Elevation with Troy's Dean's team. What was a couple of the key things you learnt that you weren't expecting? You know, when we all join any kind of training system, online or not online, we have some expectations. But what were a couple of things that you learnt from that course that you weren't expecting?
Right. So first of all, the proposal that he gave me, we've been using it until the end of until we stopped doing projects. It was brilliant. Learning a little bit about the tools that you need to manage projects at scale, and having processes, because you know, when you work as a freelancer, processes don't really come into your mind, and it's not really important really at that stage. But when you have a team, you need to have that. You need to have it. It becomes essential. Another thing, the great thing that I use this course for is that once I did it and I went through the course and I built a few websites with it, that's when I actually started hiring people, because I became better at what I do, and so I could bring in more work, which means I could afford to expand. But then I took the course and I set the guys, every new designer that came onto the agency just took the course. You know, he sat for a few days and just did the modules that were relevant for them. When I brought in a salesperson, he did the sales part of the course. So everyone works under the same framework. And for me, it was definitely WP Elevation throughout the agency.
Right. Thank you so much, Vito, for coming on the show. You have to come back in the new year at some stage. I've greatly enjoyed our conversation, and I think you provided enormous insight and value during the podcast and this bonus content. And I'd like to wish you a great Christmas, New Year, whatever you celebrate. Are
you guys coming to WCUS?
Unfortunately not. No, I'm not. I have projects and things.
I'm coming from London. It's a lot harder.
I, it's true. You embarrassed me, but I'm not. I'm just going to be honest.
Good.
We're going to be. We will be back next week, folks, with hopefully another fantastic guest like Vito, with my great host Adrian. We will be back next week, folks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.